2 years ago, I went on a journey to build my personal brand across the 4 most competitive social channels in the world, with a goal of 10xing my audience size and doubling my revenue. Here's what I wanted to prove. If I started to increase these numbers, would it also increase my company's revenue? It's an experiment that every entrepreneur behind a modern founder-led business wants to know. I identified the 4 most effective channels, I set my benchmarks, and tested every strategy I'd heard of and a bunch of made-up ones that I just came up with myself. Here's everything I learned about growing each platform, broken down into the 4 key pillars you must understand to grow on any social platform. The first platform I decided to scale the brand on was X. I started with just 5,000 followers. At the time, it was one of the biggest followings I had on any platform, and my growth here convinced me that this whole experiment could be worth it. Let's start with pillar 1 of X, platform. I realized that if I wanted to use X to grow my business, not just increase my follower count, I had to share value and help my community. My goal switched from entertaining to offering ideas, playbooks, and systems that could help others grow. Start to absorb what's working and feels good to you and keep track of the posts so you can identify trends and have a source of inspiration and ideation. Once I got an idea of how great accounts operated and studied some of their best work, I needed to figure out how I wanted to share my ideas. That's when I came up with this exercise, the 5-year look back. This is for X, but honestly, this would work for any content platform. I sat down and reflected on how far I've come over the last 5 years. Then I identified specific lessons, experiences, and pieces of knowledge that made me grow the most over those 5 years. I then came up with 7 categories to organize everything I could think of around things like mistakes, challenges, insecurities, achievements, biggest lessons, underrated skills, and successful routines. These were the content categories I noticed in high-performing X accounts. And when I looked a bit deeper, I noticed something that was quite unique at the time. The content was highly personal. It wasn't that the best or most established experts won on X. Success and growth came from being willing to share from your own life perspective on topics that had mass relatability and appeal. This allowed you to be differentiated in your approach, but universal in your subject matter. The next pillar we want to focus on for X is frequency. For each platform, I tested how often to post to get the best impact. When I first started, I thought I should post all day, every day. So I tried posting 5 to 10 times every day because everyone told me X rewards posting frequency. But that intense frequency ended up annoying my followers and hurting the performance of every piece of content that I posted that day. So I finally landed on the sweet spot for growth that was posting 1 to 2 times every day. And then 4 out of the 7 days a week, I posted 1 long form post. These posts were packed with value, but took a lot of time to create. But if I was starting again from scratch, I wouldn't start out this complicated. Just post 2 times a day, and on Thursday and Sunday, have 1 post be a long-form thread. Now let's talk about the exact strategy for growing on X. I found that the best performing X posts used the following elements. Number 1, short sentences did great, usually 1 per paragraph. Number 2, I avoided long paragraphs and made it easily scannable. Number 3, I got as specific as possible. Specific numbers, specific details. Generic information dies on X. Number 4, I used I and you pronouns to make things as personal as possible. And number 5, I realized that I could pack more value into an image than into 280 characters. If you combine a short sentence or 2 with a powerful image, it often does far better than the text alone. When I put together threads, I use the first post as a headline. The goal is to introduce something interesting or novel that makes followers interested to read more. Then my audience will click on show more to see the rest of the posts that are connected. Threads let you share way more interesting insights, usually in the form of lists, item 1, insight 2, tip 3, that kind of thing. One big difference I discovered between threads and posts are that curiosity phrases in threads help keep people reading. Phrases like, but there's more, so read on. But I didn't stop there. Let me explain. Here comes the good part. They keep the interest high and the minds of your audience engaged. Because threads take more time to craft, I only posted 2 per week. Only after I was able to grow my team and practices did I start scaling that up to 4 times a week. Now for the final pillar of X, conversion. The whole reason I was doing this in the first place was to drive revenue for my business. The best way to do that was to drive traffic to landing pages. Landing pages offer value in exchange for joining an email list. On X, I discovered 2 primary ways to convert my audience to an email list. The first one was my profile. There's multiple spots that I added CTAs to encourage signups for my newsletter. I updated my banner to make a promise about my content, combined with a call to action to join the email list. Then I set my location and link to promote my newsletter. Finally, I pinned my high-performing thread as my top post on my profile. One thing you have to be aware of on X and many other platforms is that if you add a link to a website outside of X isn't as likely to push that post out to the available audience as it would a normal post without an external link. I realized that I could get around this by waiting before I added a link to existing posts. I would post and then wait until the post starts to get a lot of likes and retweets. And then at that point, I'll add a new post to turn it into a thread, and this post will be the call to action to join the email list. The real results of implementing these strategies on my X over the last 2 years. I started with 5,000 followers, and after 2 years of following this exact approach, I was able to grow that to 360,000 followers. This grew my revenue too, but I'll share those numbers a little later on. Let's talk about LinkedIn. Before my sprint to grow on LinkedIn, I started with just 11,000 followers. To be honest, at first I thought nothing of this platform. I completely underestimated it. I thought it was just for recruiters and random business updates. When most people start on this channel, they think the same. They feel it's hardly a social network that can have bottom line results. But it's actually insane how many leads LinkedIn drives to my business every day. It's actually my #1 channel for generating leads. The density of high quality business owners means the leads that come through LinkedIn are much more qualified for business growth, coaching, and consulting communities like mine. LinkedIn uses an algorithmic approach, but it's a lot more connection based. It's one of the last genuine social networks where virality and reach don't smother the quality of the content that gets pushed out to a wide audience. I found that posting one long form post on LinkedIn every day kept me top of mind without oversaturating my audience. And the strategy behind each of my posts is also quite intuitive. Since I had poured so much time into X, I just used a lot of the same lessons from X and then just applied those to LinkedIn. Cross-pollinating across text-based platforms is a great way to grow the online presence of your personal brand. But beware, there are differences between X and LinkedIn. Unlike X, I found that short posts on LinkedIn underperformed unless I used a super value-dense image. But for this reason, I almost always find it better to go long form. The first 3 lines of your LinkedIn post are a text-based thumbnail, meaning the goal of the first 3 lines is to get my audience to click more to read the rest of the post. Make sure your first 3 lines follow the best practices for attention-grabbing techniques that you've seen work in your niche. I found that over time, the image you attach to your point itself will drive most of your interest. I treat this image like my post thumbnail. I found that LinkedIn cares more about the length of time that someone's engaging with your post than anything else. I've optimized a primarily long-form post list once a day with a really engaging image that takes a while to read. Here are 3 examples of LinkedIn posts with all the ingredients to high performance we just discussed. The process of converting people on LinkedIn to customers is pretty similar to X, but LinkedIn is even better at giving you way more ways to add links. The best places I've discovered for conversion were my cover photo image, my bio text, the CTA that appears under my name every time I post, the featured sections of my profile, and finally, at the end of my LinkedIn posts. Now let's look at the results. I started LinkedIn with 11,000 followers, and over 12 months posting in line with all the strategies I just shared with you, I was rated the fastest growing creator on the platform by Taplio, growing at over 110,000 subscribers a month and generating 59 million monthly organic impressions, all while spending $0 on ads. That's like $340,000 a month in free advertising. So in the span of 2 years, I went from 11,000 to 760,000 followers. On LinkedIn, who would have thought? Now I started my YouTube sprint with a grand total of 0 subscribers. When I started, I thought YouTube was too hard to get going. I was nervous to be in front of the camera. I had no video equipment. I didn't think there was anything valuable I could even talk to people about that people would even want to watch. I was wrong. Perfectionism is the enemy. I refrained my initial approach on YouTube to better calibrate my expectations. I made it a goal to become great at cinematography and video composition and gave myself a bunch of runway for the next 3 years. I played the long game. I told myself I'd do this by making each video 10% better than the last one, improving scripts, hooks, thumbnails, titles, and everything else that makes a video go viral. YouTube as a platform has huge diversity, but just like X and LinkedIn, you want to follow people who are winning in your niche and learn what works for them and then model them. When we talk about frequency on YouTube, I've discovered that the best frequency varies a lot based on the kind of content that you're trying to make. If you're just starting out, a video a week is fine if you're keeping production light and not working with a big team. If you're trying to be more polished, you might want to slow down a bit and begin with 2 videos a month, even once a month, to get a feel for the platform. Scale up only when you feel you have the quality there and the bandwidth. Do not burn yourself out chasing some unsustainable cadence. What really determines how well my top videos have performed is a combination of 3 factors: the idea, the title, and the thumbnail. If a video's idea is thoughtfully researched, validated, and tailored to my target audience, it outperforms any other video where the idea was less strategic, regardless of the production quality. And if the idea is not packaged using a strong thumbnail or title, then no one's gonna click on your great idea. And if they don't click, they don't watch. And if they don't watch, it becomes a sad day to be posting on YouTube. Next, the idea should be novel and appeal to core, casual, and new viewers. If it's just helpful to new people or experts, it won't drive as many views once it gets pushed out to a wider audience. When designing the title of the video, you'll want to keep in mind familiar phrase structures paired with eye-catching and search-relevant words. The title should further provide context to the value that you're going to actually deliver in the video, so potential viewers have an accurate understanding of what they will get in return for then clicking on the video and watching it. The title should stop viewers in their tracks, but the title doesn't work alone. This is because of the thumbnail. The holy grail of YouTube strategy fixation is often on that thumbnail. The goal of a thumbnail is to build massive intrigue and open a question loop that is so irresistible it can only be satisfied by watching the video. It would not be an overstatement to say that the idea plus the title plus the thumbnail equals 90% of the formula for my YouTube success. One of the hardest but most powerful ways to convert people is generating a helpful offer built into the video itself. If you can share useful resources in the description and then give it to anyone willing to share their email, you can convert a lot of viewers to email subscribers that way. But it has to be good and relevant to the video, and it has to be worth slowing down your video to share. The results for my YouTube journey are still very much a work in progress. I started with 0 subscribers, and now 2 years in, we've grown that to over 136,000 subscribers. Rewind 2 years and my personal Instagram page had just 4,500 followers. Over time, I started to think of my Instagram as a variety show. I have carousels, photos from my daily adventures, reels around specific systems, and tons of value per second to encourage people to save my content and then share it with 5 friends. I realized frequency boils down to 3 formats: reels, posts, and stories. Reels are 90-second vertical videos. When I posted reels, they would go out to the audience I was building, but they also went out to Instagram's algorithm for video sharing, which means people see my videos when they're swiping through other videos on Instagram. Posts are 1 or more images or media that go mainly to those who are following me already. This is great for continuing to nurture my core audience. Stories are a series of posts that are only available for a little while before disappearing. I discovered these are great for sharing a little bit more behind the scenes, micro updates on my life, and for sharing more about upcoming events or business offers. I eventually arrived at this posting frequency: 1 reel a day so that my videos reach a bigger audience, 1 post a day so my existing audience engages and is rewarded for following, and 2 to 5 stories a day to share what previous posts, mini updates, or drive email signups or sales. By now, I have a full-scale team keeping this posting cadence in check. If you're just starting out, make this your goal and scale slowly and sustainably. Here's what's performed the best in the past 2 years. I have 2 main types of videos: talking head videos and animated videos. I found that for 90-second videos, I can sit down for 1 long writing session and create up to 30 scripts for those short form videos. These are usually about 120 words long, and if I do that, it's gonna be roughly 2 months of content written all at once. Then I can just go and film them and then share them with my editor. The scripts themselves follow a similar format to other platforms, usually list-based. I focus 80% of my time on the first 10 seconds of that video, with most of that time going towards the first 3 seconds, and usually start with one of these 4 power words: I've, when, or if. For my posts, I will occasionally post a single photo if it's really useful, like a photo of my notebook, but usually I found that raw carousels perform best. Raw carousels are posts that share multiple raw photos, memes, behind the scenes, or day in my life lifestyle content. These work because they showcase my personality and human side, and they drive engagement and increase reach. Stories are the third example. You can just post interesting moments from your camera roll, say hi with short form videos if you want to go and connect with your audience, and just have fun with it. Or you can use stories to share promotional content, which leads us to conversion. I spent a lot of time cracking the system for Instagram because I saw the potential to make a lot of money. I set up my bio to be well written and have a link there to my newsletter. Then I use stories at a cadence of a few times a week. I'm going to create a story that links to my newsletter or other promotions. I make sure that those promotional stories are only about 20% of my total stories. Next, I use captions. For some of my posts, I'll add a CTA that drives people to join my newsletter. And finally, I use direct messages or DMs. This works by adding a CTA button to a story that prompts a direct message conversation. Okay, so how did this all pay off over the last 2 years? In 2 years of work on Instagram, I grew from 0 followers to over 900,000 followers. This is by far the biggest glow up across all the platforms, but it was also the platform that I put the most effort into.
I talk a lot about the content GPS, but I want to actually give you a checklist that you can follow so you make sure you have every core element of the GPS implemented. And so let's get started here. 2 years ago, believe it or not, I only had 43,000 followers across every platform. Before that, I started from 0, just like you. And today, well, I have over 2.8 million followers across X, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And I run a portfolio of profitable companies, and the size of that portfolio is only possible because of the audience and the content that I put out there. I'm able to travel the world. I have freedom. Now, I was just in Japan, currently in Bali, Indonesia. I'm heading to Wyoming, then Austin, probably then back to Bali. So, I'm able to travel the world and control where I work, what I work on, when I work, and who I work with. And this is really what brings me joy. And all the while, I've spent $0 on ads. This is all from organic content. So what I want to show you here is my system so you can go and steal it. First off, let's talk about the content GPS components, starting with your platform strategy. You got your content system, your audience growth system, and your conversion engine. And we're going to get into each part of this in the next few minutes, as well as how to go and build an amazing team. Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're not just growing your personal brand, but that I think you should be focused on growing a personal media company so that you're not just the one doing all the things and on some content hamster wheel. You want to have the systems and the people in place to make it enjoyable, to have fun, so you can focus on the stuff you love to do and delegate all the stuff that just does not bring you joy. So the content GPS looks something like this, okay? At the top here, you have your personal media company where you have all the different platforms that you're on, right? X, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. From there, you want to be growing that audience, but you need to drive them from your rented audience, right, to your owned audience. You're not Zuck, you're not Musk, you don't own those people on X or on LinkedIn. So you need to drive them to a newsletter. If you're getting started, you may use something like ConvertKit. If you're more experienced, I currently use HubSpot because it's a lot more powerful, but it's also a little bit more pricey. From there, we're driving folks to leads, right, and driving applications to my different portfolio companies. And then we're converting those people either via a sales page or a sales call to then customers. Inside of the actual product or service that I'm offering, we make sure that we have an unbelievable customer experience, right? Where those people want to refer their friends, they want to recommend us, they want to leave reviews, and that creates a profit flywheel. Well, then those people will go tell their friends, they drive more customers, and this organically just starts growing itself. And this is how I've been able to build all of my businesses without spending a dime on ads. Now, when I think about the 4 big platforms that I think are most important to be focused on right now, it's X if you're really good at writing and you want to go, writing first. YouTube is great for long form authority. On YouTube, you really develop deep relationships with people because they're seeing you, they're hearing you either on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. And it's a great place to build rich one-to-one relationships with your audience. Also, YouTube is the largest video search engine in the world. So when people are searching for core terms around what you do, they're going to find you. And that's super valuable, as I'm sure you can understand. On Instagram is great for visual storytelling. And we put a lot of work at FounderOS into our brand, into our aesthetic, and we put a lot of work into the taste behind it. It's a great chance to build a brand, but it's not going to be as deep as growing an audience on YouTube because on Instagram, they're maybe seeing a 1-minute post from you. And on YouTube, they're likely watching a 15-minute video. So the level of relationship you're going to build on YouTube is far greater. LinkedIn is amazing because it's essentially this professional network, right? Everyone on there, for the most part, are super legit. There's not many bots. And so what you're going to do is if you're targeting business owners, LinkedIn is incredibly powerful. And I've been able to build an audience there over the last 2.5 years of over 783,000 people. And it is a massive source of leads for my businesses. So when you think about your content strategy, I think you really want to base it on your brand positioning. So for me, that's things like personal brands, founder-led brands, systems, organic content. I talk about these things and those things become, my content strategy. So your content strategy should be coupled with your brand and it should help exemplify it. It should help amplify it versus being disconnected from it where people don't even know what you do. So on X, here is my operating system or my OS. When you're getting started, I would recommend 2 threads per week, which are longer form posts on X. You're going to want to make sure you have curiosity-driven CTAs that drive people to your newsletter from your X content. You want to make sure that you're replying to the community, replying to different comments under your stuff to help form these more authentic relationships with people. And then you want to make sure you're also repurposing your content, from other platforms and putting it on X. So I'll share my YouTube videos there. I'll share short form videos there from time to time. In addition to that, you want to make sure that you have daily content going out at 8:07 a.m. in whatever time zone your dream customer's in. So for me, it's people in EST primarily. And so I go and make sure that my content on X comes out every single morning at that time. And then I have another post at around 2 p.m. every single day. So these are examples of the different hooks that I write for X. And it's important that you're using tools like TweetHunter X to go and dial your content in so you have scroll stopping hooks that stop people in their tracks and hit. Here on the left side, you can see this piece of content I put out on the 10 best Christmas ads of all time. This post got over 292,000 likes, over 32 million organic views without paying a dime on ads. So pretty insane. So you need to make sure that you dial in your hooks because if you can't get someone to read your first sentence, they're not going to read the second sentence or the third. And so making sure that you have a hook that stops people in their tracks is key. This is what's allowed me to go and hit over 31 million views a month on X and at times grow my following by over 7,000 followers a week. And so I have a writing workflow that I use on these platforms, right? I have all my ideas in a Google Sheet. I then go and write these things or I get help from someone on my team. We then go and add designs to them and images to make them much more multimedia enriched so they stand out more and again, stop the scroll, which is the goal. And then we distribute this. I have a social manager on my team that puts it out there. And then that social manager is monitoring performance and then letting us know what content did the best on the given platform, what's the stuff that did the worst, and then bubbles up content ideas based on what they're seeing from our content and other high-performing content on the given platform. So this is what my writing workflow works like. You don't need to do the exact same thing I'm doing, but I think this will serve as some inspiration for you as you scale up. So let's get into my LinkedIn operating system or my OS. So what I love to have are value-dense images because LinkedIn rewards you for having quality time on post. And so images almost act as like your thumbnails, stopping the scroll and getting people to spend more time on your post, which then causes the algorithm to go and boost that post to more people in your follower base. In addition to that, we have quality CTAs that drive people from the given post to my newsletter, where then they join to get one proven system every single week from me. And if they're interested in working with me or one of my companies, they can go and apply to join. From there, I love long form storytelling because again, we want quality time on posts. So longer form posts work much better on LinkedIn. You want to make sure that they're scannable, easy to understand, using language that's easy to understand for an 8th grader so that they're easily consumed and then shared with others. The main thing that LinkedIn rewards is reposts. So we want to always be engineering our content so that someone will go and share that piece of content with 5 of their friends. In addition to that, you want to make sure you have a profitable profile set up. So you're looking at things like your cover photo, link in bio, your featured section, your profile photo, and making sure it's professional and it's engineered to drive people from awareness through to joining your community and then transacting with you. Lastly, just like everything, right? Your community engagement is super important and making sure that your featured section is updated with a product link to drive people to actually work with you and then a newsletter link to convert people from your rented audience on LinkedIn to your owned audience in your newsletter. Okay. And then again, on these platforms, I like to have the posts go out there at around 8:04 a.m. EST every single morning, 7 days a week. Again, remember though, for you, if you're just starting, the best content strategy is the one that you can stick with. So don't feel like you need to post every day just like I do. For you, if 4 posts on LinkedIn are the limit and that's what works for you, then just do that again, right? Like consistency is key. So this exact strategy I just showed you is what has allowed me to grow my LinkedIn in some months at over 102,000 followers a month, generating over 59 million organic views. Just a few months ago, I was ranked as the fastest growing creator on LinkedIn. And so what I'm showing you here, it genuinely works. Here you can see all the different components of what make up a profitable profile on LinkedIn. The cover photo with a clear CTA to my newsletter. I have all the relevant links in there. So I'm driving people to my product, driving people to my newsletter, making sure it looks professional and it's all on brand so that first impression, which is everything, really convinces people that I'm legit. And in one way or another, they kind of get involved with the different things I got going on. Here you can see an example of a value-dense image, which gives people a ton of value and then causes them to go and, again, likely repost, which is a core metric I'm trying to drive in every single one of my posts. And it also causes them to join my newsletter. So I'm bringing people from my LinkedIn audience to my newsletter, and I'm currently growing that at around 8,000 subscribers per month organically from LinkedIn. So pretty insane. In addition to that, if you need to come up with different ideas for the platforms, here is my ChatGPT prompt, which will also go link below via the link in the description. You can go and use this prompt to come up with 30 plus content ideas in just 30 seconds. It's super powerful. I've customized it just for you so that if you ever feel like you hit writer's block, well, say no more. That should be gone because this prompt is a beast and will help you out. All right, now let's get into your YouTube operating system. This is YouTube OS, okay? First off, your description on your YouTube videos is a great place where you can go and drive people to your newsletter and your product or service. And so you want to make sure that you dial that in intentionally. And you can go just check out my descriptions to see how I do this. From there, you want to make sure that you're playing the long game. YouTube is not going to be won overnight. Just like most things in life, it's going to take long-term consistency. So versus focusing on, say, growing to 100,000 subscribers, I would much rather focus on the craftsmanship of creating quality videos and making the goal of I'm going to go and make 50 videos that I am proud of this year or over the next 2 years. That is a great goal that focuses more on the process versus the outcome. In addition to that, I think it's important on the platform like YouTube to focus on quality over quantity. Unlike other platforms, YouTube really rewards you for really giving people a ton of value, keeping an amazing aesthetic, great taste, and making sure that things like your lighting, your sound, your video is really dialed in. So you can just start with an iPhone, right? You don't need to have some fancy equipment to start. But with each video, focus on getting 10% better each and every time. Now, your thumbnail, your title, which is called your packaging, is going to be about 80% of the battle, right? If you can't get someone to click on their video, you're not going to get them to watch the whole thing. So getting that click is imperative, and your title and your thumbnail need to be curiosity-inducing, maximize the intrigue to get people to click in and watch your content. I like to focus in all of my content on this metric, which is an insane value per second. Every single second, I want to make sure that I'm giving people so much value that they can't help but watch and then eventually share the video with 5 friends. My goal is that in the comments of any single video that I create, that people go and comment, "Damn, Matt, I cannot believe this is free." That means to me that I'm putting enough effort in these videos, delivering enough value that I'm helping founders just like you, and I'm fulfilling my mission of inspiring 100 million founders just like you to accomplish their dreams through proven systems. So this is where I started, right? It was me filming videos off of an iPhone with a super janky setup in Puerto Escondido, Mexico. It was pretty embarrassing, to be honest, but I'm proud of myself, right? Because I just got started. And I focus on just putting in the reps week after week, getting 1% better every day, 10% better every week. And sure enough, a year later, I was 37 times better. And here's where I am now, right? Some of my videos have gotten over 500,000 views. I'm regularly getting videos over 100,000 views. So like 100 times better than when I started. But that would not have been possible if I just didn't put in the reps. Mr. Beast has this amazing quote that I love. He went and was asked by someone, how do I go and get amazing at YouTube? And what he tells them is, hey,
all you need to do is make 100 videos and improve something every time. Do that. And then on your 101st video, we'll start talking.
Because you learn from the doing, right? Not from sitting on the sidelines, from getting in the game, moving from the stands to in the arena. That is where you learn. And so get started now to start putting in the reps. And you'll see each video, you'll get 10% better. And before you know it, you'll be hitting bangers. So again, focusing on packaging is imperative, right? So we'll go and test a bunch of different thumbnails. We'll test those thumbnails in YouTube's A/B testing tool to keep on dialing in our clickability of any given packaging of all of our videos. In addition to that, in the hooks of our videos, I'll oftentimes go and record 3 different hooks, and then we'll go and choose the one that feels the best for really going and getting someone's attention and introducing the value we're going to give and the roadmap in the rest of the video. So you may be wondering, well, what's your process for making videos, Matt? And what parts are you involved in? So I like to think of it as this flow. And for me, I'm involved in actually coming up with the ideas, writing them out and making sure the ideas then are flushed out. From there, I film them, right? Because I'm the creator behind this founder-led brand. But the editing, the publishing, the repurposing, the analytics, that is people on my team that goes and handles all the rest of that stuff. So I can focus on the stuff that only I can do. Everything else is handled by others. Let's get into Instagram OS here. So you want to make sure that you have your profitable profile set up with an amazing bio that's consistent, it's on brand, it's inspiring. You want to make sure that you have your Instagram stories going out every day, probably 3 to 5. And we post 2 times a day on Instagram, 1 carousel and 1 Instagram reel. You want to make sure you have your reel strategy dialed in so that you can keep up with that quantity over time. Again, though, if you're just getting started, the best content strategy is the one you can stick with. So you can only do, say, 3 reels a week. Just stick with that. From there, I really love carousels. And on the last card of my carousel, I'll go and have a call to action that then drives people to my newsletter. So again, I'm driving people from the audience on Instagram to my newsletter. And then we use ManyChat automations. ManyChat is a tool that allows you to go and send automated automations and DMs on autopilot when people use a certain word under your post, story, a reel, whatever it may be. And so it's a super powerful tool for driving people to a given lead magnet you may be releasing. And I'd recommend that you go and check this out. So when I'm growing on any of these platforms, I'm always looking at the data and we're doubling down on what's working and stopping the formats that are no longer working. So as an example, on Instagram, we saw that our animated videos were blowing up, as well as our raw carousels on the platform. So we doubled down on that format, which we saw working. And along the way, there's been a lot of formats that are just like dead bodies along the way, right? There's a graveyard of formats that never worked that we just stopped doing those things. Now, this is my content calendar. This lays out the different quantity that we're posting certain kinds of formats on each of the platforms. You don't need to stick to this content calendar. I would recommend initially that you pick 1 or 2 platforms to start. If you like writing most, then go to X or LinkedIn. If you like video most, go to platforms like YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok. And remember that just keep up with the quantity that you can stick with. Don't go too far too fast because you want to keep it sustainable, keep it fun, because winning on any of these platforms is about longevity, about staying in the game and not burning out. This is my content waterfall system that allows me to turn one piece of content into 24 other pieces of content. So we'll go take one X thread and that'll become things like a newsletter in 8 weeks. It'll become part of the script for a long form YouTube video. We'll use it for things like, short form Instagram reels or short form YouTube shorts. So when we go and create one amazing idea on X, it doesn't just become that, right? We are able to repurpose that piece of content, which allows us to get that much of an ROI from my time, my energy, my creativity, because one idea can become many other ideas and pieces of content across all platforms. So when it comes into the revenue side, right? Because we're not just looking to build followers here, we're looking to grow dollars. You want to make sure that you have your offer structure dialed in. Your CTA placement needs to be immaculate across all platforms, and I'll show you that in here in 1 second. You want to make sure that your landing pages are all designed immaculately, so we're driving people from visitors to customers. You want your newsletter page optimized, so you're driving people from your newsletter landing page to subscribers. This is what my CTA system looks like. So these are all of the CTA areas or call to actions that you can have across each platform. I would recommend taking a screenshot of this and then going and reflecting on each of your platforms. Do you have all of these CTAs set up so that when you think about your audience, right, it's like this massive ocean of attention. You want to make sure that you're using call to actions across those platforms to basically form a net where you're kind of catching the fish. And so your CTAs allow you to go and take all those eyeballs you're generating and drive them into leads and eventually into revenue for your business. This is what my sort of distribution schedule looks like in a given month. So for the most part, throughout the month, anything that's marked here as an N, I'm promoting my newsletter in my CTAs. Then for around 10 days of the month, I'm promoting a workshop that I run that is a free training for founders and CEOs to help them level up their business. So again, roughly 20 days a month, my CTAs lead to newsletter signups, and 10 days a month, they lead to workshop signups. Now let's get over to the time freedom spot, because it's all good to build an audience, but as you're growing your content, you don't want to be doing everything, right? You're going to need some help. I believe in building personal media companies, not just personal brands. And the difference between the two is that a personal media company is when you have a team of weapons that are helping you scale up and you're working on only stuff that you can do. A personal brand is when you're the sole creator. And while that's fine to get started, I think that CEOs generally have ambitions of being the CEO of a media company versus being the sole creator, because again, the enemy is burnout. And so when you have more systems and more people, you get more help. So first off, you probably want a tech lead, right? Someone to help you actually orchestrate your entire funnel behind the scenes, right? Things like Webflow for your website, HubSpot for your CRM, and making sure that, Stripe and things are set up for your checkout. You probably want a video editor, right? Probably someone to be handling your short form videos for reels and for shorts, and then another person to maybe be handling your long form videos over time, because you should be creating things and be maybe the talent on camera, but not be the one actually editing every single video, because that can get exhausting. Your social manager is basically your chief distribution officer. They're making sure that all your content goes out to the highest quality possible on each of the platforms at the right time without any mistakes. Your content manager is someone that can help you go and come up with ideas, help you kind of manage this team over time so you can focus on more important parts of the business that drive you revenue and have this content operation running on autopilot. Graphic designers are super important because I think that quality is the ultimate pattern interrupt and taste is the ultimate competitive advantage. And so having amazing design is going to set you apart in your industry. Lastly, along the way, right, you need to make sure that every single system across your content, the different platforms, your calendar, how you orchestrate different formats is all documented. And this is the sort of documentation that we provide people like you with inside of Founder OS. Along the way, don't lose sight of the fact that while there's all these systems and there's revenue and you're running a business, I like to focus on being an artist over an entrepreneur. I like to focus on the creativity, the design, the taste, the scripts, the copy, the artistry, the cinematography, the lighting. All of those elements really excite me. And the numbers are important. And sure, we got to make sure that the business is thriving. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like actually when you focus most on the creativity, the love of the process, the ins and outs of the details, the business just tends to take care of itself. So along the way, as you're creating your content, just really remember to unleash your full creative potential. Spend time, creating beautiful designs. And really enjoy how you're showing up. Have fun, right? Just be creative. Do what you love, right? Don't do what everyone else is doing. Focus on the things that are authentically you, right? Because at the end of the day, That's what's going to really attract people is your personality, your design, your energy. This is the stuff that's going to help you stand out. So over the next 30 days, it's important that we take action. So I'd recommend that you go and you dial in your brand positioning. Where do you separate yourself from everyone else in your space? Get your content bank going and aim to create 20 pieces of content over the next month. Go and set up your profitable profile in each of the different platforms that you exist on. Make sure you have the systems documented to drive more freedom in your life. Get a newsletter landing page going with a platform like ConvertKit or Webflow so you can go and drive people from your audience to subscribers. On the 90-day side of things, these are the sort of metrics I would be looking at. Weekly follower growth, email list growth, and then just your own energy, right? Making sure that you're continually enjoying the process and you're being consistent because at the end of the day, consistency wins. These are the sort of metrics that you could be looking to track across the different platforms. Things like your follower growth, your best posts every month, your worst posts every month, coming up with different content ideas, your revenue the last 30 days, and your profit the last 30 days, so that you're growing a profitable media empire, which is the key thing here, right? We want to make sure that as we're growing all this content, we're growing our team, that it's sustainable so that we can stay in the game long term. Because like anything, right? Content and your audience are like an asset and they compound over time. So the key thing is that we're making sure that asset is self-sustaining, it's systemized, it's fun, and it's working well so that we can see those big returns over the long term, which is the sort of mindset you want to have. Along the way, remember that slow is smooth, smooth is fast. You're not going to get all this stuff overnight, right? It's going to take a second. And that's just part of the process. So fall in love with it. Enjoy it. Really loosen your grip on, perfectionism, right? Perfectionism kills creativity. Take time to just love the process, love the creativity, lean into the artistry behind all you're doing, and people will be able to feel that. And that's going to allow your audience to compound and your business to grow. So this is what my profitable profile on X looks like as an example. You can see I got a great headshot there, looking good. I got my dialed in kind of core copy in my cover photo, driving people to my newsletter, which then is linked there as well. So people would go from my audience to my newsletter page. You see, when you open this, you land on a no scroll landing page. So on this page, you can't scroll, right? And you basically are being prompted to just drive people from this page to my newsletter, where they're going to get one proven system to grow their business every single week for free. So let's move on to my Instagram profile. My Instagram profile, you can see here, we've driven over 906,000 followers there. People can go and see that I have proven systems to grow a profitable audience with content. If they want to work with me, they can DM Scale, and then there's a ManyChat automation that goes and sends them the relevant information to get started. That you can also see here in the link in bio, I've gone and linked my newsletter. So again, driving people from Instagram to the newsletter. Along the way, I view Instagram almost like it's a variety show. So we have raw carousels, animated videos, we have talking head videos, we have different photos and different sorts of designs and graphic designs that we use to basically just give people a taste of my brand and my personality. I put a lot of work into this, a lot of taste into this, a lot of creative energy, because that's just what I love to do. And I think that Instagram is this mood board for the kind of brand I want to create, which is really an inspiring brand, a brand that stands for freedom, that's aspirational, that shows founders that you can run a business and have a vibrant life. And you don't need to run a business that just runs you into the ground. And I think that my Instagram exemplifies that. On the LinkedIn side, you want to make sure that you have your profitable profile dialed in. And the key elements come down to your cover photo, your amazing profile pic, hopefully, and that you got your featured section dialed in with one link that drives to your product and one link that drives to your newsletter. So we're driving more subscribers there. On any given post, the big thing is that you want to make sure that you have a scroll stopping hook. You have long form value that's easily scannable so people can easily digest this and then save it and share it with their friends. You also want to make sure that you have your value dense image dialed in so that you're increasing the time on post, which is going to help your post go and be on more people's news feeds. In addition, you want to have a dialed in CTA. So my CTA here is enjoy this, repost it to your network, and follow Mac Ray for more. Want more systems to scale peacefully? Join our community of 137,000 plus subscribers today. And then I drive people to my newsletter link. So here you can see on my YouTube, on any given video in the description here, I go and have a really intentional description. And we've tested this a bunch, and this is what works. And so we have a link there where people can go and apply to Founder West to work directly with me and my team. They can also go and join my newsletter. So core CTAs inside of the description that lead people from a YouTube viewer to someone that's more within my network and has closer proximity to me. And so you probably want to go and check out my descriptions and use those as templates for how you go and create your YouTube descriptions and dial in your growth on the platform. All right, that's it. Welcome to the Founder Freedom Movement. Like and subscribe, and let's win together.